Okay, so we're on video number 11 now. 11, which is, I'm just going to talk briefly about, it's a very brief video this, and I'm going to talk about their body temperature. Now, you've heard those stories that great white sharks are these cold-blooded killers. Great white sharks are not cold-blooded animals. They're actually warm-blooded. Most fish species are cold-blooded, so they take on the ambient water temperature around them, and that's the temperature. But great white sharks are not. There's several species of sharks that are warm-blooded, and there's also several species of other species such as tuna, etc., that are also warm-blooded, very fast animals. And basically, first of all, they generally have a body temperature of about 25 degrees Celsius, no matter what the ambient water temperature is. So that is generally, they've got a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius, and the person that discovered this and did the most testing on it is a scientist called Ken Goldman, and he did a lot of this testing in Northern California, specifically the Farallon Islands. But how they do it, right along here, on each flank, this side and that side, they've got, how do I explain it in simple terms? Basically a heat exchanging system. It's a heat exchanging system. And as they swim, the muscles warm up. They swim in such a manner, they don't swim like normal sharks. Normal sharks swim in a snake-like manner, like this. Great white sharks are more mechanical when they swim. So imagine this is their tail moves through the water like that, and not like this. Okay, so as they're moving through the water, all the muscles on the one side contract, while all the muscles on the other side of the shark relax, and then when the tail goes the other way, then all the muscles on this side will contract, and all the muscles that had been contracted will relax, and that's how the shark swims through the water. And it's got this very intricate system of blood vessels that go through the muscles, and the heat that is generated from the muscles is passed on to the blood, and they raise their body temperature in this way. It's almost like geothermal heating. Geothermal heating is when you pump water down deep into the ground, because at a certain depth, the ground is always the same temperature, and you pump the water down, and the water cold water picks up some of the heat and comes up again, and then it gets pumped down and picks up some more heat, and that's how the water gets heated up through geothermal heating. And I think that's probably the best way to describe what happens with a great white shark. As the blood flows through the muscles on each flank of the shark, it draws heat from the muscles, and the shark maintains its body temperature, as I said, of about 25 degrees Celsius. And the reason is because great white sharks are fast animals. A lot of people have this misconception that they are slow animals, and it's just because most of the time they're cruising around pretty chilled out, pretty relaxed, and they've got an average speed of, say, about 5-6 kilometers an hour, and that's how they cruise around. In fact, one very well-known scientist some years ago wrote that a fit human swimmer could probably outswim a great white shark, believe it or not. Somebody, a white shark scientist working with these animals, wrote that and stated that a fit swimmer could outswim a great white shark, which is complete crap. All right? I mean, you got no chance of outswimming a great white shark. These animals are quick. And we're going to be discussing their prey spectrum in another video. But you look at their prey spectrum, and they're chasing seals down. Great white sharks they're not scavengers as such. They prefer fresh prey. So they'll chase down tuna. They'll chase down other shark species. They'll chase down dolphins. They'll chase seals. They're able to chase down and catch very fast animals. And they move very quickly, and they can spin on their own axis. They're very fast animals, great white sharks. And one of the reasons they are so fast is because of the elevated body temperature in comparison to the ambient water temperature. So basically, to put it into very simple terms, they're like an athlete that's warmed himself up, stretched his muscles, warmed himself up, and is ready to run at any moment. So a great white shark, they cruise around. Like I say, they're not always in hunting mode. But when they decide they're going to go hunting, their body temperature is high and they're ready for action. They're ready to blast whenever they need to. Also, when they group in around an island, or if they group in around a carcass, let's say there's a dead whale, great white sharks have got the social hierarchy, which I'm going to discuss there as well. They have discussed it, but I'm going to discuss it in behavior. They've got a social hierarchy based on size. So, and this is a very interesting subject, which we're going to go quite deeply into. But the larger the shark, the more command it has over an area. A social hierarchy based on size, not on sex. So if there's 3 sharks, one is 3 meters, one is 2 meters, and one is 4 meters long, and there's something to feed on, like a whale, or let's say a big seal, the 4 meter one will have access at first, and he'll feed on the seal, back off. Then the 3 meter one will come in and feed, back off. Then the smaller one will come in and feed, and then while it's feeding, if the bigger one moves in, the smaller one will move out and give the bigger one space. Which brings up another question, which we're going to be talking about, which is self-awareness. Great white sharks are actually self-aware. And this is also something that I'm proudly the first to theorize and come up with and actually observe. Not observe, but put it into a paper and put it into general knowledge of great white sharks. So they're self-aware, which is a very interesting question that we're going to talk about in behavior. But what I'm telling you now is that, again, we've seen it when there's sharks working around our boat, and a smaller shark moves in and wants to take the bait, and a bigger one comes up. The smaller one will often shoot away very quickly. And they're warm. Their muscles are warm, they're not sluggish. So it shoots away to avoid any conflict with the bigger shark. So basically, what I'm telling you is great white sharks are warm-blooded animals. They're not warm-blooded as in the way we understand it, as in mammals. You know, we talk about cold-blooded animals, we talk about warm-blooded animals. So snakes and lizards are cold-blooded, and then mammals are warm-blooded. Fish are all cold-blooded. Well, most fish are cold-blooded animals, but there are certain species that are not. Most sharks are cold-blooded, but there are several species that are not, and the great white shark is one of these species. So I hope you found that interesting, and yeah, move on to the next one.